Welcome back to Telecom Jamaica. Today, we're tackling the big question. Who will be the first to introduce 5G in Jamaica? Flow, Digicel, or Rock Mobile? The fifth generation of wireless technology, 5G, is not just an incremental improvement over 4G LTE, it represents a fundamental redesign of the network capable of enabling an entirely new digital era. Key technological leaps: 4G LTE, peak speed up to 100 megabits per second, latency 50 to 100 milliseconds, capacity supports approximately 4,000 devices per square kilometer. 5G new radio, peak speed up to 10 gigabits per second, latency as low as 1 millisecond, capacity supports approximately 1 million devices per square kilometer. Impact on society: peak speed enables instant downloads and high-definition streaming on the go. Latency enables ultra-low latency for real-time control like remote surgery and self-driving cars. Capacity enables massive machine-to-machine communication, IoT. This combination of faster speeds, ultra-low latency, and massive capacity is what enables truly transformative use cases. Smart cities and IoT, connecting millions of sensors, cameras, and devices across the city like traffic lights, utility meters, and public transport to create truly smart infrastructure. Mission-critical communications, providing reliable, low-latency connections essential for disaster-resilient communications, automated emergency services, and remote medical services. Fixed wireless access, FWA, offering fiber-like broadband speeds wirelessly to homes, a significant development for regions where laying fiber is difficult or costly, like many areas in Jamaica. Spectrum refarming, clearing the road for 5G. To introduce a new generation of mobile service, operators need large, contiguous blocks of radio spectrum. Since spectrum is a finite resource, older, less efficient network technologies must be phased out, a process called sunset or refarming. Jamaica's sunset strategy: 2G shutdown completed or ongoing. 2G GSM technology is the oldest and least efficient standard. While it provided voice and basic text, its technology consumes a large amount of power for very little bandwidth. In Jamaica, the 2G shutdown has already been executed or is well underway. This action successfully cleared the low-band spectrum, around 850 or 900 megahertz. This low-band spectrum is highly valuable as it travels long distances and penetrates buildings well, making it ideal for providing wide 4G LTE and 5G coverage, the blanket layer. 3G shutdown likely next. 3G UMTS is more efficient than 2G, but is still far less efficient than 4G or 5G. A 3G shutdown is the likely next step for both Flow and Digicel. The 3G networks primarily run on the mid-band spectrum, around 1.9 and 2.1 gigahertz. Significance: refarming the 3G spectrum will free up crucial mid-band spectrum that can be immediately reused for high-speed 4G LTE capacity and, more importantly, high-capacity 5G deployment, the power layer in cities. This step will significantly accelerate the quality of 5G service in the busiest urban areas, complementing the low-band coverage cleared by the 2G sunset. This continuous cycle of retiring old technologies to gain new spectrum is essential for any modern mobile network to grow and introduce the next generation of services.
Competitor landscape, the battle for 5G dominance. The Jamaican telecommunications market is dominated by a duopoly, Flow and Digicel, with a new challenger, Rock Mobile, attempting to disrupt the status quo. The race for 5G will be defined by their strategic advantages in spectrum holdings, regional experience, and financial backing. Flow, part of the multinational Liberty Latin America Group, possesses a strong regional track record and massive infrastructure investment. Regional first move advantage. Flow was the first operator to commercially launch 5G in the Cayman Islands and was an early mover in Barbados. This proves their technical readiness and ability to successfully plan, build, and market a 5G network from scratch. They have an established blueprint for deployment. Infrastructure depth. Flow's parent company, LLA, is heavily investing in upgrading its fixed network to fiber to the home, FTTH, across Jamaica. This robust fiber backbone is absolutely critical for supporting the bandwidth demands of a mobile 5G network, giving Flow a strong foundation for its wireless services. Strategic focus. While capable, Flow has often adopted a more cautious, measured approach, prioritizing the economic stability of their network and customer satisfaction. Their current focus on fiber rollout suggests they may wait for a clear business case and better device affordability before a massive mobile 5G push. Digicel, a leading regional player and with a massive mobile market share across the Caribbean, is known for its aggressive market strategy and technological agility. Agile follower strategy. Digicel has demonstrated that it can deploy 5G rapidly once the competition or regulation mandates it. It quickly followed the lead of Flow in both the Cayman Islands and Barbados, showing an ability to execute fast rollouts. Strong spectrum holdings. Digicel holds significant blocks of spectrum in the 2.5 GHz band, N41. This band is a globally recognized mid-band frequency that is ideal for refarming from 4G WiMAX to high-capacity 5G. This is Digicel's most valuable asset for a speedy, high-speed 5G launch in urban centers like Kingston and Montego. Regional scale and momentum. The company has an inherent advantage in leveraging its brand strength and regional momentum, allowing it to quickly adapt and deploy technology across multiple islands using shared knowledge and resources. Digicel is widely regarded as the most likely operator to be the first to market with commercial 5G in Jamaica. Rock Mobile, the challenger. Rock Mobile entered the Jamaican market to increase competition, but its journey has been marked by delays and challenges. Key low-band spectrum. Rock Mobile was licensed with valuable 700 MHz spectrum, a low-band frequency. This spectrum is ideal for wide area coverage and meeting rural populations, a crucial part of Jamaica's universal service obligation and a key differentiator from the incumbent urban-focused networks. Rollout challenges. Despite securing its license, Rock Mobile has faced significant struggles in meeting its basic network rollout obligations. These delays are critical because the regulator may impose penalties or even reclaim unused spectrum blocks. Unlikely to lead 5G. Given the company's current difficulties in establishing a reliable 4G network, it is highly unlikely that Rock Mobile will have the capital, infrastructure, or technical bandwidth to compete with Flow and the Digicel in the race to launch 5G services. Its main role in the 5G landscape will be as a market disruptor that forces the incumbents to accelerate their own plans to defend market share.
Fiber backbone and network resilience, the foundation for 5G. The future of 5G is entirely dependent on its wired backbone. While 5G is a wireless technology, it needs a fiber optic network to carry the massive amounts of data to and from the small cell towers and the network core. In Jamaica and the wider Caribbean, this foundation must also withstand the annual hurricane season. Hurricane Melissa, the inflection point. The devastating impact of Hurricane Melissa in late 2025 served as a brutal stress test for Jamaica's existing telecom infrastructure. Highlighting vulnerabilities, the storm caused extensive damage, including downed poles, fiber cuts, and power outages that took a significant percentage of both Flow's and Digicel's networks offline. This event confirmed that the existing overhead infrastructure, which relies on the Jamaican Public Service JPS utility poles, is highly vulnerable to catastrophic storm damage. Forcing a resilience rethink. The scale of the disruption, where even core network sites with generators failed due to severed fiber links or prolonged power loss, has forced both operators and the government to rethink resilience as a primary design requirement, not just an add-on. Digicel's underground fiber exploration. In the immediate aftermath of Hurricane Melissa, Digicel has publicly acknowledged the need for fundamental change. Exploring underground systems, Digicel's leadership stated they are actively examining the possibility of migrating more of their network to underground fiber systems, potentially using methods like microtrenching as part of a multi-year investment plan focused on network hardening. While more expensive and requiring significant excavation permits, underground fiber is inherently more resistant to high winds, falling debris, and flooding. Not foolproof, but stronger. The goal is not to build an indestructible network, but one that is significantly stronger and faster to restore after a major disaster. This includes reinforcing towers, expanding hybrid power, battery, solar, or diesel at key sites, and deploying redundancy mechanisms. The fiber to 5G requirement. The reason this fiber resilience is non-negotiable for 5G is due to the technology's architecture. Fiber is the backbone of 5G. The promise of 5G, speeds up to 10 gigabits per second and latency as low as 1 millisecond, cannot be delivered without fiber optics. The network traffic generated by hundreds of thousands of devices connected to a 5G cell site is simply too large for any other backhaul technology like microwave radio to handle efficiently. Densification is impossible without robust backhaul. 5G networks, especially those using mid-band and high-band spectrum, rely on network densification, which means deploying many more small cell sites, sometimes 40 plus per square kilometer. And each and every one of these new small cells must be connected to the core network via a high-capacity fiber link, backhaul. If the backhaul fiber is damaged, the small cell is useless regardless of its power source. In essence, building a 5G network in Jamaica requires building a highly resilient, deeply buried fiber optic network first. The cost and complexity of this fiber deployment, especially post-Melissa, is the true barrier to the rapid introduction of commercial 5G services across the island.
Spectrum Roadmap, the 3 pillars of Jamaican 5G. The Spectrum Management Authority, SMA in Jamaica, must orchestrate a complex roadmap to allocate frequency bands efficiently. 5G requires a mix of spectrum types to deliver on its promise of universal coverage and blistering speed, a strategy known as the 3-layer cake deployment. 1. Lower band spectrum, the coverage layer. Low-band frequencies are the foundation of any mobile network, offering the widest range and best ability to penetrate buildings, which is essential for nationwide service. 600 MHz band N71. This band is the next major target for auction by the SMA. The government has already published rules for an award in this band.
Coverage focus. Due to its excellent propagation characteristics, long-distance travel, the 600 MHz band is key to delivering widespread 5G coverage across Jamaica, including rural areas and along highways. Flo's interest, Flo and other competitors are keenly eyeing this license as it would allow them to efficiently build a low-cost, pervasive 5G network layer, ensuring a strong connection virtually everywhere, even if the speeds are not ultra-fast. 700 MHz band, N12, N17, and N28. This band is already used by existing operators for 4G LTE. Rock Mobile's holdings. The challenger, Rock Mobile, was awarded spectrum in this band, specifically 700 MHz band 13-14. If they ever launch, this spectrum will give them a coverage advantage. DSS option. Incumbents can utilize dynamic spectrum sharing (DSS) to overlay 5G onto their existing 4G networks, providing an immediate, albeit less performant, 5G signal over their current footprint. 2. Mid-band spectrum, the speed and capacity layer. Mid-band spectrum is where the real commercial promise of 5G is realized. It offers the best balance of speed and range, making it ideal for cities and dense suburbs. 2.5 GHz band N41. This is Digicel's critical advantage. Digicel currently holds a large blot of spectrum in this 2.5 GHz band, over 80 MHz, which is currently used for 4G WiMAX. This is a globally recognized high-capacity 5G band. Ready for refarming. Digicel is strongly positioned to refarm this block for city deployments without waiting for a new auction. This allows them to quickly deploy a high-speed, high-capacity 5G service in dense urban areas like Kingston, giving them a significant first-mover advantage in terms of actual performance. 3.5 GHz band N78. This is the globally harmonized 5G band and the one used by both Flo and Digicel in the Cayman Islands and Barbados. SMA's auction focus. The SMA is actively preparing for auctions in this crucial 3.5 GHz band. This band is necessary to provide the dedicated wide channels like 100 MHz required for truly fast multi-gigabit mobile speeds. Future core. Once awarded, this spectrum will become the core engine of high-performance 5G across the island. 3. High-band spectrum, the ultra-speed layer, millimeter wave. High-band or millimeter wave spectrum provides immense bandwidth, but only over very short distances, a few hundred meters, and cannot penetrate most walls. Reserved for future dense urban use. Frequencies above 24 GHz, like 26 GHz and 37 GHz, are currently reserved and being studied by the SMA for future use. Target applications. This spectrum is very specific. Stadiums and public venues, providing massive capacity in highly concentrated areas. FWA, delivering extremely high-speed broadband to homes and businesses, often line of sight from a rooftop antenna. Last priority. Given the focus on national coverage and urban speed, millimeter wave is the last priority on the 5G roadmap, as its deployment is the most costly and geographically restricted. This staged approach ensures that Jamaica gets a practical tiered 5G network, low band for ubiquitous coverage, mid band for high performance cities, and high band for future capacity hotspots.
Challenges slowing rollout, a triple threat of cost, climate, and compliance. The deployment of 5G is not simply a matter of upgrading software. It requires a costly and complex overhaul of physical infrastructure. In the Jamaican context, these challenges are magnified. Exorbitant costs, densification, and backhaul. The core technological requirement of 5G is its main financial barrier. 5G densification is 3x to 5x more expensive. Unlike 4G, which largely utilized existing macro towers, 5G, especially using mid-band spectrum, requires network densification. This means installing a significantly higher number of small cell sites, often 3 to 5 times the number of current towers, closer to users. The cost for these new sites, equipment, power and maintenance can be 3 to 5 times higher than for previous LTE upgrades. Fiber backhaul requirement. Every new 5G small cell must be connected by high-capacity fiber optic cable to the network core, the backhaul. In Jamaica, where fiber is often aerial on utility poles, the cost to extend, harden, and potentially bury the fiber network is astronomical. Flow estimated it costs over $1,200 per home to move aerial lines underground, making full resilience cost prohibitive. Spectrum pricing, reducing deployment capital. The price set by the government for the right to use the radio frequency spectrum directly affects the operator's ability to build the network. High auction fees reduce deployment capital. Historically, governments view spectrum auctions as a major revenue generator. If the Spectrum Management Authority (SMA) sets the reserve price for key 5G frequencies like the 3.5 GHz band, operators are forced to spend massive capital merely acquiring the license. The vicious cycle. This high initial cost leaves the operators with less capital to invest in the actual physical build-out, towers, equipment, fiber, and label. This creates a situation where the government secures high revenue but delays the network's deployment, ultimately hindering the very service they want to promote. Terrain and permits, logistical hurdles. Jamaica's physical landscape and bureaucratic processes present unique logistical challenges. Mountainous regions. The island's rugged mountainous terrain makes laying fiber and accessing remote tower sites difficult and costly. Deploying new infrastructure in these areas requires specialized engineering and long construction times, directly slowing the national rollout pace. Slow regulatory approvals, permits, installing the numerous small cell sites required for densification demands approvals for attaching equipment to street furniture, light poles and buildings, etc. Slow, complex or inconsistent municipal and national planning permits for new sites can stall an operator's construction schedule for months or even years. Natural disasters undermining resilience. The single most significant non-financial barrier is the persistent threat of catastrophic weather events. Hurricanes Beryl and Melissa caused severe setbacks. Recent major storms, such as Hurricane Beryl 2024 and the catastrophic Hurricane Melissa late 2025, have severely damaged the island's telecom infrastructure. Hurricane Melissa's impact. Reports indicated that only a fraction of Flow's and Digicel's networks were operational immediately after Melissa, with damage costs estimated in the millions of US dollars. Recovery capital diverted. These disasters force operators to divert planned capital expenditure, also known as CapEx, for 5G innovation into immediate network restoration and resilience, like replacing stolen batteries and repairing fiber cuts, further delaying the introduction of new services. The threat of annual storm damage requires the costly long-term shift toward resilient underground infrastructure, which only adds to the upfront 5G price tag. These combined factors, exorbitant hardware costs, expensive spectrum, slow regulatory processes, and devastating storm damage, create a complex web that makes a rapid national 5G rollout in Jamaica a major financial and logistical risk for any operator.
Regional context. Jamaica's position in the Caribbean 5G landscape. The Caribbean is a fragmented market, and 5G deployment is highly concentrated in territories where the business case for investment is most compelling. Jamaica, despite being one of the region's largest economies and populations, finds itself in the planning phase, while several smaller territories are already enjoying commercial service. Where 5G is live. The pioneer markets. The islands that have successfully launched commercial 5G share common drivers that differentiate them from Jamaica. Market: Puerto Rico/US Virgin Islands. Uncle Sam, driven by major US carriers like T-Mobile, AT&T, who are deploying 5G on a national US scale, benefiting these territories with massive investment. Jamaica lacks this external financial and regulatory pull. Cayman Islands/Bermuda. High income/high GDP. Extremely high per capita income and dense affluence populations creates an immediate, clear return on investment, ROI, for premium services. Jamaica's lower average revenue per user, ARPU, makes the business case riskier. Dominican Republic/Aruba. Competition and large markets, large, fast-growing domestic markets where strong competition, like Claro in the DR, forced incumbents to launch 5G defensively. Jamaica's duopoly structure allows for a more cautious, measured rollout pace. Barbados/French Antilles. First mover strategy. Key regional hubs like Barbados or territories leveraging European technical expertise and funding, French Antilles via Orange and SFR. Jamaica's operators are still hesitant to commit to full-scale capital investment. The pattern is clear. 5G rollout in the Caribbean is driven by targeted return on investment, ROI, not universal service goals. Jamaica, despite being a crucial market, lacks the specific financial and competitive triggers that accelerated deployment elsewhere. Why Jamaica lags? The regulatory barrier. While the operators bear the cost, the Office of Utilities Regulation, OUR, and the Spectrum Management Authority, SMA, play a critical role in setting the pace. Historical lag. As noted by the OUR's Deputy Director General, historically, Jamaica has lagged the international market by approximately 10 years in rolling out a new generation of telecommunications network. Studying rollout barriers. The regulators are not being idle. Rather, they're attempting to navigate the complex economic and technical obstacles before committing to an auction. Spectrum scarcity. The SMA is actively developing a spectrum screen policy and preparing to auction key bands like 600 MHz and potentially 3.5 GHz. Delays here are often due to the time-consuming process of clearing spectrum and coordinating with existing users, like the digital switchover from analog TV. Balancing cost versus deployment. The regulators are keenly aware that setting auction fees too high will cripple the operator's ability to invest the necessary capital in densification and fiber infrastructure, ultimately slowing the rollout. They are studying how to use the spectrum award process to incentivize rather than penalize rapid deployment. Focus on policy. High-level government officials, like those speaking at the CTU ICT Week 2025 in Kingston, acknowledge the lag and are prioritizing the creation of an enabling regulatory framework to accelerate the digital transformation, including 5G infrastructure. In summary, Jamaica's lag is a result of a prudent yet slow regulatory environment, navigating high capital costs, a difficult geographical terrain, and the need to find a sustainable business case that works for a large, diverse population rather than just a wealthy, small market segment. So, who will be first? Flow has the blueprint, Digicel has the spectrum, Rock Mobile has pressure but not readiness. The race is on, but resilience and affordability may decide the winner. Jamaica's 5G future depends not just on speed, but on building networks strong enough to withstand the next hurricane.
Thanks for watching Telecom Jamaica. Tell us in the comments, how do you feel about the arrival of 5G in Jamaica? With Starlink satellite service rising, do you think 5G will be the game changer or just another option? Stay tuned, subscribe, and join us as we keep breaking down the future of telecom across the Caribbean.